What am I doing? Just sitting here trying to console myself with Senior Poopas, because in just over a year, thieves have tried to siphon $23,409.33 out of our checking account, our business checking account. I'm going to tell you how and how you can help prevent this from happening to your business. All coming up on Successful Contractor. So let's tell this story from the very beginning. Just over a year ago, actually February of 2021, we noticed some weird charges coming through our bank account. A couple of Capital One payments. The first one was for $495. The second one was for an even $500. The problem is, we don't have a Capital One business account.
Your bank account.
Our account.
Yeah, our account.
Yes, fraud.
We went down to the bank and we talked to the bank, and the bank said, you know what, all these are being paid ACH. It's as if we were paying our credit card bill through ACH right out of our checking account. Not something that we'd ever seen happen before. And so we asked them, well, how do we get our money back? And the long and the short of it was, there was no way for us to get our money back. We had to notice it within 7 days, or we can't dispute the charges and receive our money back. So immediately we're out $995, just like that. The question is how did that happen? How was somebody able to gain access into our checking account, use our ACH checking information to pay their credit card bill? We don't know. Then they continued to go on and try and pay other bills, but by then we had frozen our account, locked it down. What we found is that once they were successful in the first 2 credit card payments, they tried to pay several other things. They tried to pay T-Mobile, they tried to pay Best Buy, they tried to pay Complicity, which all these are basically store charge accounts. At the end of the day, they tried to pay down $3,481 worth of their debt.
You're a fraud. A total fraud.
Using our accounts through ACH. The question is how did they get this information? And we asked our bank, they couldn't tell us. All they could tell us is that once somebody has your bank account information, they can do with it what they will. And there's no check or balances. So think about all the times that you go online and you want to do an ACH payment to pay a credit card or pay a bill or any other number of things that we do online. There's no check and balances for that. The result for us was that we had to go through the arduous process of closing that account, opening up a whole new account, which for us is a big deal because we've got a lot of people that pay us directly into our checking account, and then we pay a bunch of people directly out of our checking account. So that whole process was incredibly painful. It took us probably about 9 months to get all of that sorted out. And that brings us to December. About the time we got all that stuff figured out, we had another creative criminal. This one wasn't through our checking account, this one was with our own assistants.
Now on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Commercial!
You know what? All this is kind of depressing though. So you know what we should do? We should have a contest. So if you can tell me how many times the bank robber comes to steal my money and how much money he got from me, and then at the very end tell me how much I lost in all these different debacles, we'll send you a free t-shirt. All you have to do is let me know in an email to Successful Contractor. Now Successful is spelled successful with 2 L's because we're just that much better. We're lots better than everybody else. If you'll send me an email to successfulcontractor@gmail.com with your answers and tell me what shirt size and whether or not you like gray or black, we'll send you a free t-shirt to the first 10 people that get it right. Happy hunting.
Have you seen that commercial?
Great commercial, Bob.
What happened was, as many of you know, we have an e-commerce website where people can buy stuff. Somebody messaged us, which is not uncommon, and said, hey, I'd like to receive a quote on 100 inch and 3/8 bear holds. A bear hold is, well, we'll just show you right here what a bear hold is. I thought it was kind of odd, but you know, who am I to turn down a sale and guess what you're going to use these things for? So we said, okay, so we got him the quote, and it looked like he had an address in North Carolina. He said, no, we're working in Greenland and we need these up in Greenland. And I'm like, okay, well, we don't really ship to Greenland. He says, no problem. We'll help you get it to Greenland because I've got a freight guy that we use all the time. He'll help us get this exported up to Greenland and it'll be no trouble to you guys whatsoever. Cool. So we go ahead and we prepare the sale. We bill him for the 100 inch and 3/8 bear holds. He sends us his freight guy, and the freight guy gives us a quote to ship these to Greenland for $4,450. Perfect. The only thing is we need to wire him the money before he'll arrange the freight shipment to get all these to Greenland. 100 inch and 3/8 bear holds aren't readily available in the US, so it's going to take us some time to produce. So we go ahead and get all the paperwork in order, get all his information. He sends us an invoice for the shipping of these products to Greenland, and we ACH him the money. The invoice looks good. His name's up at the top. Looks like a legitimate logo up on one side. We have our name and everything. Then all the information for the wiring info, which we deal with a lot of overseas companies, and we have to wire wire money to the companies we deal with already. So none of this looked out of the ordinary. The bank beneficiary, everything looked good. And so we went ahead and wired the money. Fast forward 2 weeks later, before we had even received the product to ship to Greenland, and we get a strange call from somebody in Portland, Oregon at Ramsey Signs, and she says, hey, you guys charged my card for a bunch of money and I don't recall ever having ordered something from you. Can you please look up this order and tell me what we ordered? I'm like, okay. We look it up and it's these 100 inch and 3/8 bear holds.
Whoa, red flag.
I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. So we look into it a little bit further and she says, well, I mean, I didn't order these from you guys, but this is definitely my card. And we're like, we didn't do any business with somebody from Portland, Oregon, especially a sign company. We did business with these people. I'm going to find out the card was stolen. Luckily, we hadn't shipped the product, so we're not out the money. And a little known fact is that the businesses that accept the stolen credit card, they're the ones that get the charge back. So had we shipped those 100 inch and 3/8 bear holds out, we would have been out that money as well, which is about $5,000.
How much?
The problem is that we had sent that ACH to pay for the freight. And by now you're probably catching on and you're thinking, bet that money's gone. And you'd be right, that money is long gone. And the worst way to send anything is ACH. There is no way to claw that money back. There's no fraud protection on that money. There's no way that we can get any of that money back. So that money's gone forever. Our bank, we talked to the bank and they said, man, once you send it, it's gone. And that's one of the dangerous things about wire transferring money is once it hits that bank account, there's nothing. And the reality is the bank account for that person, you're thinking, well, I had to provide an ID and all this information to even open up a bank account. The reality is that that's probably a mule's bank account. And I know what you're thinking. Mules don't have bank accounts, but we're not talking about that kind of mule. We're talking about money mules. So they'll get somebody that is desperate for money or owes them a favor and say, hey, can you just go and let us put this money into your account and then we'll let you take $500 as a fee. And so that's how they get that through, and there's no way to trace this stuff. I've talked with the bank, and as frustrating as it is, there's no way to get that money back. So that happened in December. Though the credit card company clawed all that money back, we weren't out the product because we hadn't actually shipped it yet. Begs the question is, if we had shipped it, wonder where that stuff would have gone. And now we get to what just recently happened to us.
Mama, girl.
Much like before when somebody tried paying their credit card bills with our account, we received our last statement and there's some strange checks on there. I'm like, well, what's going on? So my wife calls me and she said, did you write a check for $5,539.27 to somebody in Mississippi? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that. She says, well, there's actually two different people in Mississippi. One is the $5,539.27. The second one was for $52.8713. Well, neither one of these checks were something that we had done. So we immediately could get a hold of our bank, and luckily it had been within that 7-day window between the time the check was supposedly written and the current time, or maybe the time it cleared. So we got a hold of the bank and we said, we just had some strange checks come through our bank account. And they said, yeah. And like, well, what do we do about this? We just spent a year changing our bank account from the last time it was hacked, but that was a different situation. And now we've got this situation where they've done something completely different. They just flat wrote checks out of our account. How did they do that, you ask? They went and got some checks. They got our account number, printed some checks, and boom, just started writing them. We're like, but how do you do that? The signatures don't match. They said, yeah, well, this is all remote deposited, and so it's just a computer accepting those checks and letting that money go out. And it's not checking for signatures. All it's checking is to make sure that there's something written in the signature spot.
Stupidest thing I've heard.
You mean to tell me, with all the technology that we have today, that it can recognize my face, but it doesn't actually have signature recognition when you're mobile depositing this? No, it doesn't. And so they let that money just evaporate out of our account. And unfortunately, this costs us and it costs you because the bank has to pay this, and I guarantee you that they're getting that back one way, shape, or form, whether it's in interest rates that they charge on their commercial loans or personal loans, but they will recover all this money one way, shape, or form. So we asked them, well, do we have to close the account? They said, well, we're going to reimburse you for all that money, but yeah, we're going to make you close your account. So we're going through this entire process all over again, where we have to spend another 9 months trying to get everything that we just moved into a new account. And that begs the question, what do we do? So we just spent 9 months going through all that hassle, and we have to do it all over again. Not something we're looking forward to, and my wife was very much like, ugh. And Veronica was like, ugh. because it's such a pain trying to get all the people to put the money into the new account information so that they can pay us into our new account. And sometimes that costs us in how long it takes us to collect, because we don't realize that somebody wasn't given the new account information, so we're calling them up and saying, why didn't you pay us? They said, well, we tried to pay you, but it didn't go into your account. And so that takes another 30 days, and it just makes the payment process even slower, as if commercial contracting wasn't slow enough. So the big question is, how do we protect ourselves? We asked the bank, what do we do to protect ourselves? Because if you guys don't care whether or not somebody prints off checks, and the security seal on the check doesn't do any good, and the signature isn't matched up to anything, and people can just print checks willy-nilly as they see fit right out of my account, what's to stop them from doing it again?
This constitutes identity fraud.
Are you robbing me?
It's not like a social security number. That account number is on every single check that we ever write. Every check that you're writing, it's right there at the bottom. An old employee gets a little disgruntled and decides he wants to go print up some checks with your account number on it. Guess what? Piece of cake. And think about that as you spread your checks all over the countryside with no protection really whatsoever. So what we're going to do to make it better if this happens again, which it seems very likely it will because it only took them a little over a year to hack our account a second time, is we're going to open up 2 separate accounts. One of them is going to be for our payroll account, just so in case anything happens, that payroll can still go and we don't have to change accounts. And we'll also make all of our general payments out of that account for any payments that we make to other vendors. The second account is going to be strictly for AR, so that even if somebody hacks that account, we don't have to go up and set up a new AR account. All that money can still come into an account and we can wash it through, and so that it will minimize the impact that it has if this happens to us again. The other thing we're going to do in conjunction with all this is online bill pay. It's something that I've resisted for a while and that we haven't done, but we are going to pay all of our bills through an online bill pay portal. So what that does for us is it allows a lot of vendors to get paid ACH, which means that money magically goes from our account to their bank account without going through the mail, without them seeing any bank account information or having that information out there for people to steal or intercept. The second thing is the people that can't receive ACH checks through this process will still get a paper check. What we don't know is if it's our bank account information that's represented on that check that will be mailed to these customers, or some clearinghouse bank account number that's written on these checks that the bank uses to do all this stuff. We're not really sure, but the banks seem to think that this would help us out tremendously.
I hope this plan works better than the last one.
It will work.
I hope so.
The other thing we have to do as business owners is we need to be diligent in watching our accounts. As much as I hate to log in every day and look at all the transactions that are coming through our bank account, we are at a point in our society where that's what we have to do, not to manage our business, but to make sure that people aren't fraudulently stealing from us. The long and the short of it is, at the end of the day, people tried to steal $23,409.33 straight out of our bank account. The good thing is with a little bit of diligence and some fraud protection that we have on our accounts, the total amount that we're out is, so we still paid about 1/5 of all the fraud out of that. What was a bad situation could have been much worse if we weren't diligent. Now, realize that as they're successful in pulling these things off, they spread out and they do it to more and more people. So don't be surprised if you see some of this stuff, and be watching for it, because this can absolutely happen to anybody.
I'm coming for you.
I hope so.
I got something for you.
I'm going slap, slap, happy, slappity, slap.
And hopefully with this information, you'll be prepared. As with everything on our channel, our goal is to share these stories to help arm you with the information you need to better catch thieves before they get a hold of your money. Kind of a sketchy thief there. Glad we got him. Whew, feel better. Feel like I'm even armed a little bit better to catch these guys nowadays. But anyhow, we hope this gives you some of the tools you need to become a more successful contractor. Until next time, you have a good dang day.